Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve Ramona and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am pretty fired up for you to, actually, I'm really fired up for you to join us today, because just talking to my guests for about 5 minutes, you're going to love what we're going to talk about, because there's going to be a lot of education, motivation, and inspiration, which I mentioned later, but I'm going to say it now. Get a pad and paper out. Take some notes. I've got my digital one ready to go. Because we dedicated this podcast to exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a purpose, making an impact by being a servant's heart. Students and foundation, check box twice, servant's heart. And then growing that and overcome obstacles that he's going to tell you about today. I want to thank forget your call to action today. How are you going to serve yourself and others today? And what impact will be that you create that when you create that service? Here's a quick note. You want to serve today? When you get off, donate to my guest foundation, because I'm going to. So follow my lead. I want to thank my sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders who are building a world-changing thought leader platform, not only to join us to change, but how would you like to impact the world, not just your city? So if you want more information on Pantheon Alliance, reach out to me and I'll get you all that information. Well, foundations, nonprofits, there's many. There's thousands, if not millions, and they make an impact, but they struggle as well. And COVID taught us that, and you're going to learn a great lesson from my guest about that. So let's welcome our guest, Scott Marshall. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve. Really an honor to be here. Love what you're doing.
Thank you. And you fit the mode as servant's heart, but we're going to get into why and what people can learn. Let's start with your story that you kind of briefly told me before the show during 2020, what happened and where you are today.
Yeah. So the program Semester at Sea has been around for over 60 years, started in 1963. I had the distinct honor of becoming the president of this organization, this small and mighty nonprofit, in January of 2020. I was super excited, gave my presentation to the board about all the hopes and dreams we had for the program. And this global pandemic came along. We had a voyage underway. We had over 500 students, over 60 faculty and staff on a vessel on the ocean. And we had to end that voyage, as you can imagine, early and get everybody home, which we did in Cape Town on March 14th of 2020. We are a revenue-based nonprofit with philanthropy making up another 10%. So as a revenue-based nonprofit, that was a hard thing to do. It was obviously the right decision, but a hard thing to do. And we subsequently had to cancel 3 more voyages. Let me restate, we're a revenue-based nonprofit. So very early in my tenure in this position, I had to make a series of very hard decisions. I had to have layoffs, implement layoffs. I had to implement furloughs, freeze salaries, eliminate employer contributions to retirement, and so on and so forth. So very difficult period of time. And you do get tested in terms of where your heart and head is at in the most profound ways when you're dealing with that kind of situation. We don't have grant funding. We have philanthropic donors and we have revenue. And so we had to find a way through. There was a period of time where we were exploring bankruptcy, but I woke up every single day and said, how am I going to contribute to getting this program with such an incredible history and a very important mission through this difficult time? So we can explore this more deeply, but when I just think about showing up with heart and head at the same time, laying someone off, I got to tell you, if that's not the most difficult decision someone has to make, they shouldn't be in a position like mine. They shouldn't be, period. In fact, they should be removed. If that's an easy decision, they're not in the right role. And so showing up with compassion for that person and care for the organization, holding them both at the same time, is essential for people in these kind of positions.
Layoffs are much different than firings. Firings, there's a reason, there's this, here's, and you can talk through it. Maybe they understand, maybe they don't, but there's reason behind it. You're right. Layoff is the reason, hey, we're possibly going under.
Yeah.
The whole boat is sinking, excuse the pun.
Yeah.
So how did you handle that emotionally? You definitely have huge passion for this and thinking, hey, I can wake up tomorrow and this thing's shut down. And even more so since 63. So that's 40, 50, what did you say, 58 years?
60 years. Over
60 years. Yeah. So how'd you handle that?
Well, there's a couple things here, and I know some of your other guests have talked about this, so I'm just going to reinforce it. The number one thing is self-care. And it's not cliche. I'm sorry. People who think, I don't know, whatever. No, it's not cliche. It is absolutely the inner circle of a series of concentric circles. If you're not taking care of your own physical, mental, and spiritual welfare, you cannot care for others. You cannot care for an organization. So I had a fairly strong routine around exercise and so forth, but I had to increase that thoughtfulness around what is my stretching routine? What is my exercise routine? What's a meditation routine? How do I keep my ergonomics right when I'm working at home? Like I really had to attend to that in ways that, frankly, I kind of was dismissive of in the past, just kind of, oh yeah, I'll go to the gym, of course. And what kind of time am I spending with my family and friends in this pandemic environment? Because you got to be connected. You cannot disconnect. And so I would, again, reinforce what you've said, what many of your guests have said. It's got to start there. You cannot wake up and do your job if you're not taking care of yourself. And today, my rituals around that self-care have really advanced in terms of what kind of meditative thing, how am I attention to my own spirituality? How am I tending to my physical health? How am I connected to people? Like, you got to do that. So that's number one, is I would just say in some ways I advanced my own work in that area. Number two is I developed my own personal model for leadership. Like I had this conceptual thinking around it, but I felt like I needed to articulate for myself. And I'm not out marketing my model. I'm not out there. I'm not trying to sell it to anybody, you or anybody else. I had to develop for myself so that when I show up every day to try to move this organization forward and get out of this crisis, I could test myself against that model every day. I was recently talking to someone who said, well, that's just a conceptual model. And I said, no. This is a model for me to test myself against every day. And so if I could just describe it to you, and then we can move forward. It just has three concepts: curiosity, compassion, and courage. All three are essential. All three interact with each other and support each other. If you're struggling with one, you'll struggle with the others. And it works for me. Again, Steve, I'm not here trying to market or sell it. I'm just telling you, I had to articulate that.
Yeah. And audience, I'm going to market and sell it. So just reach. I'm kidding. I'm joking. But I love that because those are general across the board. Be curious, be compassionate. I'm going to say it again: curious, compassion, and then the courage of the curiosity could be uncomfortable. And I just was talking yesterday. You were uncomfortable. Well, you were uncomfortable because of the situation, right off the bat. But tell me, it sounds like intentionality, because I was in fitness for 25 years. Nobody has, I want to lose weight that last January 15th or February 15th. Yeah. They're not intentional. Talk about that, because it sounds like that going across the bridge of, okay, now it's a habit. It's just like I go to the gym. You said it. It's now a big part of my life. Talk about that. It's important.
Yeah, for sure. So, there's morning people, night people. I've always been a morning person. I ritualistically went to the gym. I'd get there before 5, do a workout for 45 minutes, at least 5 days a week. That's just what I do. But and that's good. Hopefully everybody has something that they're doing 5, 6, 7 days a week to take care of their physical health. But what I really try to advance is the integration of physical, mental, and spiritual health. And I don't mean spirituality in terms of religion. For some people, it is a religion. That's great. I just mean in terms of connection to people in the world in some fashion, whether that's organized religion or not. It's connection, right? Connected to meaning and values. And I really had to find, how do I connect these things? So I'm not great at meditation, but I am pretty good at stretching for long periods of time with my eyes closed, which is part of physical, mental, and spiritual health. It's all of that. It's resting. It's not communicating. It's not on a Zoom call. It helps me in all those aspects. So that's, for me, one case that if I do that on a regular basis while working out, do my exercise, try to stay fit. But there's this other part that works for me, which is a stretching regime. Someone who's a yoga master is going to laugh at me and say, that's a terrible downward dog. Gosh, lift your hind end up, straighten your back, which is fine. But it has this whole routine to it that just helps me surround myself with myself, so I'm not distracted and I'm at peace. So that's an example that really has solidified for me. One thing I heard on a different podcast, yours is the best, but I'm on a different podcast, was talk about practice, not routine, which I think is a good frame too for your audience to think about, because it's too easy to break routines. Oh, it's this, I'm doing this every day. And something went wrong. I got a cold or I had to travel, and you break your routine, hard to get back into. Practice is, every day I'm going to take care of myself in some way, and I have options. And it could be going to the gym. It could be at home. I get up and I do my stretching regime, or on the weekends, I go for a really long walk with dogs. But every day my practice is I'm going to be really serving this inner self.
You just came up with a new phrase I'm writing down: customizable intentionality.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm going to give that to you. He's going to start selling now. But that's why I love doing podcasts, because stuff like this comes out. Because I don't like stretching. When I hear you stretch, my wife does Pilates. She's trying to get me to go there, and I'll eventually have to. But find that keeps you moving forward, that you said earlier, make an excuse. Like, okay, I stop after, fitness at January. We're in January. We all know that. Man, so far you've given us so many great tips, but I am so curious. I was not a great student, but I love traveling in the sea. So you put this all together. Talk about Semester at Sea. What's the mission and purpose?
Thanks for asking. So again, the program's been around for over 60 years. It was founded in 1963. We have 10 words to describe the mission. Create journeys of discovery that spark bold solutions to global challenges. Create journeys of discovery that spark bold solutions to global challenges. So it's a very inspirational and aspirational mission, serving young adults, those in college who come on, with all the insecurities we all had when we were that age. Yeah. And those students have registered for 12 to 15 credits through our partner, Colorado State. They're going to take those classes while they're on our ship, our home campus. And over 105 days, they're going to take those courses, and they're going to spend 5 to 6 days in 8 to 10 countries. So that's a lot of numbers there. But this is comparative, multiple countries, experiential, going into these countries to learn, and international. This is not a domestic base, this is a study abroad in multiple countries. Comparative experiential international. The power of this experience for young adults is inimitable. There's only one. There's only one semester C. There's a reason. It's a really hard model to run, but I care deeply about its impact on these young college students. The one thing that, you know marketing and sales very well. The one thing that's really hard to market, but becomes the most impactful part, is the community on the ship. So 105 days, about half that time is on the ship, about half the time is in the country. If you're 20 years old, you come from this institution in Alabama or California or New York, and you don't know anybody. You've got a little bit of bravado, a little bit of curiosity. You get on there, you get assigned a roommate. You suddenly have a community of 500 to 540 other college students. That community is unlike anything in the world. You're now going to experience the world with each other in an extraordinary way. And I talked to so many of our alums that sailed 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Their best friends are still from that voyage. The most impactful 3.5 months of their life, semester C, over and over and over. Changed their lives. Hard to sell that. What you sell is study abroad, on a ship, 8 to 10 countries, get your college credits, and it's a beautiful brochure and a beautiful website. But what actually occurs is pretty profound.
Yeah, and it's the experience. That's what I would market, and I'm sure you guys 60 years, talked about 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. Hey, Joe, when you get together, remember that trip we went to this city and you drank too much? I don't know, I thought that, or you met this, lady that does this pottery, all those. And audience, I'm sold. And here's why I'm sold. My best friend, Mike, he has 3 kids. All 3 of his kids' deal was when you graduate from high school, you pick one country to go to, and I will do that for 2 weeks. And to this day, they're in their 30s and 30s, and their kids will mention that trip. Hey, I went here. It makes my skin just get bubble with joy. And that's what you're doing with hundreds of kids, right?
Yep, that's right. That's right.
What is the downside of this? I don't think there is, but is there a downside?
Well, downside of the program, running a ship is not cheap. So honestly, it's not the cheapest study abroad out there. If someone's going on a study abroad for 2 weeks, they're paying a lot less than they're paying us to go on a 3.5 months trip around the world on a ship. No question about it. So price point, it can be a little bit of a sticker price shock. Now I say that, and I have to qualify it by saying a couple things. First of all, if you're an out-of-state student going to CU Boulder, your tuition is basically equivalent to what ours is. If you're an in-state student going to a state university, then our price point is pretty high. Second thing I would say, while our effective price is in the 30,000s, our market price is in the 30,000s, our effective price is down in the mid-20s because we give a lot of financial aid and scholarships. So, we are very committed to raising money from donors to provide these scholarships, so there's access. But ships are expensive. From a business perspective, that ship, when it's running a voyage, is 73% of our cost. 73% of our overhead, and it's fixed. It's not something that you have an option, like it's a fixed cost. Then we have to have this phenomenal staff, that's another 21%. So we start out at about 94% fixed cost, and the margins are thin. So we know what our break even is. We know that donor money is so key to us to sustain this enterprise. So it's one of those business models that has to be a nonprofit because it's mission driven. And I'll add one more thing before you ask your next question. Someone gave me a term last December, which I love, to describe what we do. She said, it's just a bit preposterous. And she meant it in the best way. I mean, in the best way. She's like, it's phenomenal. But when you take higher ed and study abroad and cruise and you mash them together and create a nonprofit out of it, it's a little preposterous. Brilliant and preposterous at the same time.
See, uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
You're uncomfortable but successful. So
Yeah.
here's my next question. Maybe somebody else, I'm sure somebody else is thinking it. Okay, why a boat then?
Yeah. So I go back. This was an idea that really was born of these founders, these visionaries back in the early 60s who had this idea that, people, young adults in particular, they need to understand the world. And this was before, Friedman wrote his book about flat Earth or flat world, and before globalization really took hold. But the idea that we can create a community who sees the world was in the minds of these visionaries, these founders. And a ship's the way to do it, because that community is the most powerful part of it. Right now, our voyagers are going from Penang, Malaysia, to Cochin, India. So they're on the ocean right now. They started out in Bangkok, Thailand. They went up to Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. Then they went to Penang, and now they're heading to India. Okay, so you get on in Bangkok, you head to Ho Chi Minh, you're taking your classes, you get off, you have, what is Vietnam? You explore it, right? Then you come back as a community and you're talking and reflecting and thinking. And then 5 days later, you're in Penang, Malaysia, and you're exploring and now that was different. I mean, how is this so different? Or what are the similarities? And then you're going to go to India, the largest democracy in the world, and you're going to see that environment. That is the power, right? That your synapses actually explode and rewire because you're seeing the world in such a unique way.
You're a really good speaker, promoter for this, and president for this, because I was wondering, I went through your stuff before. I'm like, because I've been on cruises, me and my wife, we loved it, cool. But you said the word that really sold me. If I had kids, community.
Yeah.
Everybody travels abroad, they travel on their own. Yeah, they go to class, but they're on their own. Which is why I love boats. I love walking around a boat and going, hey, I meet Scott. And hey, let's go gamble a little bit, or let's go have dinner. Hey, and then learning about people. And that's not for everybody. You nailed it. That's the big. So parents out there, why would you go this? Develop community for your kids.
That's right.
So
and Steve, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're right.
You and your wife might look at semester C for the lifelong learners. So we have young adults as college students, but we also always have lifelong learners on the ship, which are people on, leave from work, or, taking a sabbatical from work, or retired, and this voyage we have 35 lifelong learners on the ship.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
See, this is a great host. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I opened up a door I didn't know was there, because, it's probably not something you talk about a lot. Audience, you're a parent or a parent with kids, great. And we'll talk more and see how I can support. Because I traveled to Vietnam, and it was most incredible experience. The nicest people in the world. Interesting culture where sex is a big part of their culture, which is what for me wasn't. But some older ladies on our trip were like, what's it? But again, when you go to a culture, and that's the beauty of, you get to embrace this culture with other 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
Yeah. You get to mentor them. You get, I was just talking to someone earlier today, who sailed in 2010 as a student. And she told me she still messages with lifelong learners from her voyage.
Look at that.
14 years later, 15 years later.
We're coming to the end. I was just going to ask you a quick story, and there's a quick story. That's a reason, if you're a 19-year-old, 20-year-old listening, or a parent, you can hire Scott to talk to your parents to sell them on. No, I'm joking around a lot here, because you're such a great guy. But let's do this. So I like to end with a fun question.
Yeah.
So I've got a table at a restaurant reserved for you. You're going to sit in one of the chairs, obviously. And the other 3, who would you invite to sit with you, dead or alive? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order for the table?
Yeah. Dead or alive, I love that one. So the first one I would invite is Bruce Lee, who died, early 30s, tragically, who studied philosophy at University of Washington, who obviously was a martial arts master. He was extraordinarily creative in his art form, was always reinventing it, making it accessible, was very philosophical and wise for his age. And so, I think we're maybe of the similar generation. So we probably watched some of the Bruce Lee movies. Many younger people probably haven't,
Yep.
but he just really impacted me as a young adult, and now as an older adult, I still think about him. Someone who's still alive, who I think is quite an extraordinary human, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I would invite him. He is just a very intellectual, thoughtful individual. If people recall, his given name was Lou Alcindor. He changed it to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at a time when it was a very difficult time to be a Black athlete and well-known. He made this conversion. He spoke out for Black rights at a time when it was very controversial. So he's just had a clarion view of the world and was brave, was very brave. The third person that I would invite is actually my mom, who is 84 years old and is my hero, for sure. My number one hero. And again, that's probably, oh, that sounds good. No, it's just true. She is. She exemplifies to me the idea of bring together, don't divide. She lives in a community where probably politically the most people are not of her political party. And that doesn't matter. They are her community. She loves them. They love her. She is forgiving and holds people accountable at the same time. She's just a phenomenal role model. And to have her there with Bruce Lee and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whoa, what a conversation we would have.
Oh my God, especially Abdul-Jabbar and her talking about being, out there changing the world, her big world, but yeah. Oh my God. And Bruce Lee, when you said that, sorry for that, for the apropos, but I am water. He said that multiple times, and audience will go to walk it, but your semester at sea. So there's definitely that.
Oh yeah, there's probably a connection there. Be like water. Exactly. Be like water, my friend.
Be like water. That's it. Or yeah, that's right. See, love being corrected. So what are we eating? Because I have to bring a chair in for me now. So
what do I eat?
So what will we order?
Oh, what will we order?
You order for you.
So Kareem is a vegetarian and so am I. So that would work out really well. I don't know if Bruce Lee was, and I know my mom isn't. So she just have to deal with us,
Cucumbers and broccoli. It's okay.
Yeah. We would probably have some type of Asian food. I would lean towards Vietnamese or Thai. And the protein would be a fried tofu of some sort. You'd have some kind of lovely vegetable spring roll on the side. And, I know Kareem doesn't drink. I doubt Bruce did. My mom drinks a little bit of wine. I love a craft beer. So if my diners wouldn't mind, I'd probably order a red ale.
There you go. You know what? I shouldn't ask these questions, Scott, during lunch here in California. That's okay. Lunch is coming. No, and I'm got a beautiful table, and I thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for being heart and head. You started before we started the show, you truly are heart and head. You care, love these students and lifelong learners. You care about Semester at the Sea, and I appreciate it so much. How can people, real quick, you have a podcast. Talk about your podcast.
Yeah. So I started this just over, 10, 11 months ago. It's called As Unexpected. As you probably heard through this discussion, my personal experience has been dealing with a lot of unexpected. And I believe leadership most profoundly is about how we show up when things go as unexpected, not as expected. My apologies for that. And so I decided to lift up our Semester at Sea alumni and have conversations with them about how they've shown up when things go as unexpected. I think we're over 20 podcasts. And my goal is not to become like a big podcaster. Really, this was about lifting up our alumni and telling stories around leadership like that. But if people have an interest in hearing these incredible stories about how people do show up and things go as unexpected, it's really easy, as unexpected on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If they want to get a hold of me personally, I only use one social media, and that's LinkedIn. Really easy. Scott Marshall, Semester at Sea. You can find me. And then, of course, Semester at Sea is really easy too. semesteratsea.org. semesteratsea.org. And learn all about our voyages.
And we can donate there at that website. An audience, by the way, I mean, in the beginning, I'm going to jump on right after this. I got to eat my Thai food first, but jump on and donate. Hey, $5 goes a long way.
Yep, makes a big difference. There's the give button, top right corner.
Do what you can, and if you don't, that's fine. We still love you. But there's that opportunity there out there. And I love your podcast. What you said, audience, what he said was a podcast is for his Semester at Sea. If you want to build a podcast or do exactly what he said. Do it for your mission, for your business, for your message. If you get a sponsor, if it grows, it does this, that's the cherry on the cake. You nailed it. So this is my new brother from another mother. I've just added another brother to my big network. So I appreciate
Love
you.
it. I appreciate
Thank you
too,
again.
Steve.
You bet. Audience, quick call to action, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And some of you listen, yeah, okay. And people say that, and that's not wrong to do that, but I have a little different mission. If you're listening and you go, oh, my next door neighbor has an 18-year-old, they would love Semester at the Sea. Well, you could send them to the website and that's great. And they go through there. But to me, you get to listen to the president, Scott Marshall, his passion, why he's doing this, what he had to overcome. And then they jump aboard and it changes their parents. It changes their child. You just gave them a gift that lives on forever. So you can be part of that journey. So do that. Comment on the YouTube channel. If it's for Scott, I'll make sure he gets that. But me and Scott want to thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Steve.